Hello everyone, my name is Awot, and it seems the Age of Mythology community is in quite a precarious situation. So, in case you guys do not keep up with Reddit or the Age of Empires forums, which if you don't, honestly you're not missing out on too much. But basically, the sentiment after the Aztec DLC release was that a lot of people were assuming that Age of Mythology was going to be abandoned by the developers. Some things behind this was how Age of Mythology had by far the lowest player count out of all the Age of Empires games, even lower than Age of Empires 3, which was recently abandoned. And unfortunately, Age of Mythology is owned by our friends at Microsoft, and Microsoft gets very excited to fire and cut people around July of each year at the Xbox Game Studios. And fortunately, that has already passed this year, and it seems that the fallout of those cuts managed to mostly evade our Age of Mythology team, so it seems that World's Edge has survived this year's culling. But yeah, right before that, everybody was biting their nails in anticipation of Age of Mythology being a victim of the layoffs, since statistically it wasn't looking as good as some of the other Xbox game studios, or even its own siblings in Age of Empires, the franchise in general. There were also a lot of rumors around this time about contracts and other stuff expiring, but honestly, I couldn't find a solid source on any of them, so I'm not going to mention them because I don't like to talk about things without a decent understanding or source of it. Although I may slip some bad Age of Mythology information every now and then, I try to stay away from rumors. But yeah, on top of Age of Mythology seemingly being untouched by the culling, that is Xbox layoffs each July, out of seemingly the blue, Age of Empires 3 has received a new DLC. That's right, how at the beginning of the video I mentioned Age of Empires 3 seemingly had been abandoned. They left this whole post about how they were not going to be producing more stuff for Age of Empires 3. Well, great news, it seems from the grave that Age of Empires 3 has been selected to receive new content. I think this content is stuff that was previously promised but then was cancelled. Ironically cancelled right before Age of Mythology was starting to get a grip on things. So some people theorized that they canceled it to divert more manpower to Age of Mythology. Yeah, you click on the Age of Empires website, it's probably going to be the first thing you'll see. And then you can see they're very excited about it on their socials, changing their profile pictures to match the new DLC for Age of Empires 3 as well. So because of this, the public sentiment in Age of Mythology has taken a sharp 180. Discussions have shifted from if people are satisfied with the current state of the game and how they would feel the game was abandoned this way, to hopeful because Age of Empires 3 is getting a DLC. And if you're wondering why does a different game getting a DLC make us hopeful as Age of Mythology players, I think the logic here is that if they're willing to pick up Age of Empires 3, which was previously abandoned, then they may not be too shy to also pick up Age of Mythology still. Like, them making more content for Age of Empires 2 and 4 are a given because those two are their main cash cows, but for some reason the well-being of Age of Empires 3 and Age of Mythology seem to be intertwined. So the whole sentiment of Age of Mythology being abandoned was based off the Age of Empires 3 being abandoned, and now that Age of Empires 3 is having life, people are hopeful that Age of Mythology will continue to have life too. Now, so far I've just been stating the general information about the situation and the thought process behind both sides. Honestly though, if you guys heard me talk about the situation even in an earlier video, you guys would know that I actually have no stance. Like, I'm gonna play the game either way, regardless of which side may or may not be true. I do have hope that at the very least a fourth Egyptian will be added in the future, because it'd be super weird if only the Greeks and the Norse have 4 characters and the Egyptians only have 3. If you guys have tried out my free mod in the game, on the map that changes based on what character is in play, it's called Awot Select. I was so hopeful that there would be a 4th Egyptian that I actually already programmed a look for a 4th Egyptian. It's one of the few looks without any lore consideration behind it, since if they did do a 4th Egyptian, I wouldn't know exactly who the 4th Egyptian would be. But yeah, it's definitely safe to say that if this was an investment, I definitely invested in the idea and the hope that they'll give us a 4th Egyptian. But at the same time, you're probably not going to see me walking around talking about how a 4th Egyptian is definitely coming to the game, and that it's all sunshine and rainbows now that Age of Empires 3 is getting a DLC. We don't know that. It'd be cool, but we don't know. And that's why you'll find me avoiding these talks a lot, avoiding to participate in these conversations on whether the game is going to get more content or not. Because truth is, how do we know? How do we know that them releasing DLC to Age of Empires 3 is actually a good thing for us? Since people originally speculated that manpower was taken away from Age of Empires 3 and that's why the DLC was cancelled in the first place, people said, of course, in rumors, that it was to work on Age of Mythology. This rumor was made based on the timing of when Age of Empires 3 got cancelled and the relative work schedule of Age of Mythology, and also based on the fact that Age of Mythology does not use Age of Empires 4's engine. Instead, Age of Mythology actually uses Age of Empires 3's engine. I believe this was for certain things such as arrows being able to miss and other mechanics that they wanted to keep intact from the original Age of Mythology. Well, if we use that rumor logic here, which I will repeatedly state that's a rumor because I do not have any sources for this, but this is what people are talking about. If we use that logic here, doesn't that mean vice versa? that manpower is being taken away from Age of Mythology to work on Age of Empires 3 new DLC, because allegedly they said that, they have to divert manpower from one to the other based on that established logic that people have placed. Wouldn't that be a bad thing for Age of Mythology? As they divert manpower back from Age of Mythology to Age of Empires 3. In applying this rumor logic, I am not taking any side. I'm not agreeing with the logic or disagreeing with the logic. I'm just trying to portray how when you start going down the rabbit hole of rumor logic, you can start making implied evidence for either side, really. And then we start going down this rabbit hole of what if this, what if that, based on this rumor and based on that rumor. And does it really get anywhere? It's a push or pull constantly. I'm sure both sides can make their own implied evidence, but as long as there's no hard evidence, I'm not really interested in joining these conversations. And I don't mind if people talk about it and speculate for fun, because of course I admit that speculation is a fun thing, but as of late this has felt more like a gloomy cloud over the community, which, when speculation is supposed to be fun and exciting and bring a community more together. All that to say is that's why I don't really participate in this what ifs and stay out of it, because regardless if the game gets content or not, it would not have been based on these what ifs. It most likely would have already been determined by internal factors within the company itself, unrelated to any of the fighting that is occurring on socials. Like, have you guys heard of the concept of Schrodinger's cat? Probably. If not, I'm going to give you a very bad and simplified version of it. Probably a little off too, but whatever. I'm going to call it Schrodinger's Age of Mythology. Now, Age of Mythology is in a weird situation. It is inside Microsoft headquarters being conducted for internal review. Let's call Microsoft headquarters the box. Age of Mythology is inside the box, outside the reach of the community. So until our lovely friends at Microsoft open the box, in the metaphorical sense, Age of Mythology is possibly alive, Age of Mythology is possibly dead. The community will not know until the box is open. That being said, all the arguments happen outside the box and therefore do not determine the fate of what happened inside the box. So regardless if you enjoyed and vibed until the next news post, or you argued, the box is in that state right now. So I'll do what I can to support the game in the meanwhile, which is playing each day so that they can see that there are people who still play the game, still interested. But even if not, I'll continue to enjoy the game because that's what you can do. That's what video games, for me at least, to do. It's to be enjoyed. And yeah, while I do hope for more content, which is why you guys heard that bit from me investing in a 4th Egyptian earlier, I'm not going to enjoy the game any less if it doesn't get it. Like, I hope from here that they can only make me love this game more and not less. But yeah, that being said, I was thinking about making a fun speculation video. Like I said, these things are supposed to be fun and bring the community together to discuss. So hopefully a speculation video would do exactly that. But I was going to make a video about what I hope to see from the 4th Egyptian. I know some people have already thrown their takes into the bucket on either Reddit or the Age of Empires forums. So maybe I can put my throw in the bucket so we have a friendly thing to talk about. Then I was planning on making a Gauntlet video earlier this week talking about how we can improve Gauntlet. But unfortunately that project got delayed, then sidelined. Then unfortunately it was lost, so I'll have to remake that later. But that's it for today. I just wanted to talk about the precarious situation that we're in. I thought it was funny, but I could have possibly said a lot of stupid things in this video. If I did, I apologize, but I hope it was a good listen. Since it's a passable topic that maybe in our Age of Mythology channel may not talk about, maybe some of the logic in this video applies to them, where they don't talk about it because regardless of which side the argument is right, they have to continue to produce content because it's their livelihood. Meanwhile, this channel is an obscure piece of community, probably comparable to a speck of dust, and it's run by an employed bum who's currently between jobs right now. But I don't think it matters too much about what I do and don't talk about here. So I thought I'd just yap about it for a bit because that's what this channel is. It's either my crappy mod, me yapping about a random subject relating to Age of Mythology, or me doing some dumb versus AI challenge. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I'm yapping about. I'm glad to have just been able to participate in the game while I did receive new content. So thank you for watching and have a great day.